Staffing your sugar mill with the undead may seem a little unconventional. Here's your look at the Star Ace White Zombie Murder Legendre 1/6 scale collectible figure. Bela Lugosi starred in the 1932 movie White Zombie, the first movie made about the walking undead. He plays Murder Legendre, an evil voodoo master who compels innocents to do his bidding. He controls others by drugging them and using a wax doll to force their obedience. Star Ace's 1/6 scale collectible figure of Murder Legendre features an authentic likeness of Bela Lugosi. His faithful costume features a black cloak and hat and comes with a wax doll of his victim. The deluxe version includes an environment diorama base with a tombstone flying crow and light-up lamppost. Well, here's hoping that while we're looking at Murder Legendre, we're not interrupted by shrieking vultures. Just before, of course, we get a closer look at the Murder Legendre from White Zombie, I'd like to send out a big thank you, if I can, to the folks over at Star Ace that did provide this sample we could have a look at. The figure we have looked at before, but they were kind enough to send over a second one that we could look at. The one that before actually was an early sample copy. This guy's now been around for a bit. The figure, though, of Legendre stands at about 11.5 inches in height, or Murder, if that is his real name, stands at 29 centimeters tall. Pick your poison as to how you'd like to have Legendary displayed. On the left is actually the standard release figure that's going to come includes with just a basic display stand. The stand itself, not to downplay that at all, is actually nicely molded here in black plastic. Of course, it has Lugosi printed there on the top with some really nice red font down below. But this is for the standard release. We're going to move, though, our attention over to the deluxe version, as that was the one that Star Ace kindly provided. Moving, though, quickly over Legendary, I did want to bring your attention, though, to this very elaborate-looking display base. Now, again, when we looked at this figure the first time, we also did look at the deluxe version. The deluxe version does involve a little bit of assembly. First of all, you do get yourself a tombstone. The tombstone has some fair weight to it. It does have ripped, as you can see, all across the front here. Some nice additional cracks. There's some also what seems to be maybe moss or something that's growing all around the bottom base here of the tombstone. Again, it's a really nicely detailed base. On top of it, you may already see there's perched the bird. The bird itself is actually a separate piece. There is a metal poster, which unfortunately, though, obviously using a black metal post is going to be very visible as to exactly how the bird is attached onto it. It fits, though, there's a little hole there in the top corner, and then the bird basically lodges itself into that. From there, you can go ahead and take that, and that's going to just fit into the back corner here. I'll show you guys a closer look at the base in a second. It does also come included with the lamp post. Now, the thing about the lamppost, though, is it does require, first of all, it requires batteries. It needs SA0113 batteries. I had one, and I put one in, and unfortunately, I couldn't get it to work. I want to show you what the inside of it looks like. So basically, the battery would be lodged inside of this, and then to turn this on, this was something I couldn't quite figure out when we first had a look at Legendary here, is that you put it on top of the base like this, obviously, or you put it on the top there of the lamp post, and then this is the thing that's going to attach onto the base. But what you'll do, though, is if I just remove the bird for a second here, according to the instructions, and it may have very well been something I overlooked the first time, there is a magnet on the base of the tombstone that you're supposed to take the tombstone magnet, and that's the thing that activates this. In fact, as you're running this across the top of the lamppost, you can feel an attraction between two magnets. That would be the thing that would normally have triggered on the light and turned the light then on and off. Unfortunately, though, the battery that I tried, unless unfortunately maybe my battery was just dead by then, I had brand new batteries, just couldn't get it to work. It would, though, again, attach down on the base itself. And just to kind of move everything out of the way here, I want to show you what the base actually looks like. I think I really like also that Star Ace did do. I mean, obviously there's just a regular post there on the back that's going to cradle the legs of Bela. But on the side, though, you can see they've actually added some foliage. Real grass. Well, not real glass, but obviously artificial glass. They've glued nice little patches of this all around the base itself. You've got some nice additional cracks that they've added there as well. It's very heavy, though. I would imagine it's probably been made of resin. We tip it upside down. You can see it says Murder Legendre 1/6 scale action figure, Bela Lugosi's autograph, which would be a nice little touch. And then there's also rubberized feet, or felt feet, I should say, on the corners of this. Basically, again, all you're going to do is take the tombstone. The tombstone is just going to attach here. And when it attaches, like it did with the lamppost, you can feel there's an attraction here. So there's probably a magnet. Obviously, there's a magnet there in the bottom of it. But there's probably a magnet. You can see there's an outline right there. And the two magnets come together for a very secure fitting. Then you'll take the lamppost provided. And the lamppost doesn't attach, it seems, by magnets. You kind of have to line everything up by shape. The only thing about it, though, is that while the shape isn't quite a hexagonal design, it does fit into place, although I noticed that you really do have to apply a little bit more pressure to get that lodged in there. It stays somewhat securely, although the lamppost does have sometimes, you can probably already see for yourself, it leans just a little off to the side. Honestly, I really wish that the lamppost could have worked this time around, unless, full disclosure, maybe I did actually have non-working batteries. I had a whole pack that I thought I only had fairly recently bought, but the SA0113 battery that isn't included with this set, I'm probably going to have to get myself a second one to see if I can actually get the lamppost to work. As for Murder's other accessories, the figure gets in a standard release his own crow. This crow is a little bit more in a perch state where it's still shrieking away, but it's a little bit different obviously than the deluxe version of the crow, where even if just looking at the size, the crow is definitely a much bigger sized bird. I mean, even not even just including the wings themselves. I mean, looking at the head and then looking at the undercarriage of the body, it seems like the bird is a little bit bigger. Obviously, this one is also painted with only more darker blue added here, where the majority of the bird that comes included the standard release is much more a brighter blue. I perhaps feel like they could have darkened this just a little bit more. It seems like there's a lot more blue, obviously, in the wings than there is to the body. Still, though, it's a nice-looking bird. For all intents and purposes, by the way, this is supposed to be perched on top of his hand. It does require a little bit of balancing, obviously, to do that, and we'll probably do that in the end of this review. The figure also, though, comes included with a knife. The knife, for what it is, it's a very small blade knife. I mean, it looks like it probably could still draw blood. You can see the guard as well as the remaining of the handle here, painted in a very, very light yellow with some additional gold there on the end and the guard as well. There's no blood on here at all, I'm sure as well, if he wants to get into voodoo. If anyone knows voodoo, it's this guy right here. The figure also as well comes included with the wax zombie doll. A little statue that he carries around to basically control people. Again, very nicely molded. He has suitable hands, by the way. I've already taken the liberty of removing one of the hands that he came defaulted out of the packaging with and gave him a gripping hand instead to hold the doll. For the detailing of what they've been able to capture for something so small like this, I mean, just to look at the face alone, a lot of cool attention to detail here for the actual candle or statue. The figure also as well comes included with various different hands. I guess just before we look at the hands, he also comes included with the silk scarf. Like the material that they obviously have used here, it does feel like real silk. And obviously you can drape that either over his hand. You can also give him he does have a gripping hand. Actually, it comes with a couple of hands. One for specifically holding, for example, like the scarf. And he holds it pretty well as well. Speaking of hands, though, the figure does also have some voodoo casting hands. Or again, while he's running his sugar mill. Running a sugar mill, again, having the undead running that, probably not a good idea. I'm just thinking, probably not a good idea. One of the things, funny enough, though, about the movie, well, there really isn't any gore at all in the original 32 film. I mean, just the sounds alone of the vultures. I go back to the point made earlier. The vultures screaming sounds like some woman screaming. And one of the notable scarier sounds also was when they were grinding up the cane sugar. They basically put it in a big grinder, and it just makes this loud, uneasy, unsettling sound. Going back, though, to his voodoo hands, I do like the way they've actually sculpted these. Again, these just be unpegged from take the hands off from the provided pegs in the ends of his forearms. You would just replace it with these hands instead. The figure also comes included with a hand for specifically holding the knife. And the knife, though doesn't sit as securely in there, it still holds well enough that if you tip it upside down, I guess really more the key to success here is if you just turn the blade a little bit more towards his thumb, he holds it a little bit better. If you have it just sort of sitting inside his palm, there's more of the risk that the knife will fall out of his hands. And then he also comes with another relaxed hand, which basically would just be this hand on the mirror flip. I've already just replaced it with a hand that he already has. I just popped off one and replaced it with the other. The other thing that Murder comes included with is his hat. Sort of in the same way that the bird is. It starts generally in a black kind of molded plastic, but then they just brushed over top of it a little bit of blue. It does add a little bit of nice extra color, although it doesn't, if you're looking at it compared to the rest of his jacket and outfit, it's a little bit more standout, just because, again, there's got a little bit of that blue on there. It does fit on his head. The only thing that really worries me, and it worried me the first time we had a look at this figure, is putting the hat on his head. they've done such a nice job of painting a very good likeness of Bela that I would worry that putting the hat on repeatedly, or even just putting it down for a period of time, when you are putting the hat on his head, I mean, it's secure. It's not going anywhere. But I feel like my worry with that is if it's putting on his head like this, so close like this, I would worry that it would start to scrape the paint away here from the front of his forehead. It hasn't happened yet, though to be fair, I've only done this a couple of times. But it's just, I would worry though, like while the hat fits decently, in fact, it fits even better than decent, it's not going to be going anywhere. I just, again, worry that's going to scrape away a little bit of the paint. The only other thing that comes included as well with Legendre is that he also comes with his cloak. Now, I'll tell you, one of the things as a reviewer, or one of the things I dread to look at, is anything that requires me to tie this off. I can never tie a proper knot, or if I tie it, I try not to tie it too tight because I want to be able to untie the knot a little bit later. A nice finish of red on the inside of the cloak. I really like, again, like the material that they've used for all, not only just his jacket and his pants, but also the cape as well. You would just simply drape this over top of his shoulders, and probably you would fare better at tying a better knot than me. Just tie that off, and then you would just put the hat over top of his head. But again, like the material that they've used, I've never had any ever complaints with Starry's and the level of tailorship, the way that they actually be able to seam the outfits that they give to their 6-scale figures. I mean, not only is the cape really nicely done, but when you're looking at like things like this jacket and then the shirt underneath. By the way, the shirt, or the jacket, I should say, actually does have snaps. There's a snap, and a snap. You basically just unsnap the 3, and you can get access then to his white shirt underneath. A nice tie. They've done a good job on that. And actually, one of the things that really shows how well a company is good at tailoring 6-scale clothing is how clean it looks on the inside. Because obviously it would look good on the outside, but you would also want to be able to look on the inside of the jacket to kind of see if there's loose threads or sort of overlapping fabric that's sort of been sewn together. I mean, again, it looks just as good on the inside as it does on the outside. And again, you're just going to take the jacket and you're just going to want to button it up like that in 3 different places. Let's go ahead and do that right now. Yes, buttons probably would have worked a little bit better, but I mean, the access of being able to open and close a jacket, I would much rather contend with snaps than I would want to have to try to feed a button through a hole. I mean, you're kind of dealing with everything that's in a 6-scale size. So then to have to contend with little buttons like this and feed them through looplets, I think snaps is honestly the smarter way to go. Going back, though, to his head sculpt, because I know I talked earlier about the paint scraping off, but obviously I did want to draw your attention to how good the head sculpt is for Murder. One of the things that he has is really these interesting looking eyebrows. If you've also got the chance to see the 30s film, one of the cool things that he has is sort of the seeing eyes that you see basically these big giant eyes on screen. He's got the little, like, I don't want, would it be a Fu Manchu mustache and beard? But he's got the little beard pieces there down below, obviously aren't connecting to in the middle. And really, again, like those have been nicely painted there as well. I wouldn't have anything I would really have changed to the actual head sculpt here for Bela. It looks, I mean, based on how he looks in White Zombie, I think it looks quite a lot like him. As for the rest of the figure's body, he's fairly lean, although they're using, I'm guessing, a standard size body. I mean, there's fairly sometimes when you're using 6-scale bodies, for example, if you go too thin of a body, then the clothes basically just drape on them. One thing that they were smart enough to do is probably tailor the clothing around the bodies that they use. So, like, for example, the jacket and everything that he's currently wearing feels like it fits really well on the figure. It doesn't feel overly loose, but it doesn't feel super tight either. It still manages to retain all the levels of articulation, and you would expect in a 6-scale figure. But like the jacket doesn't feel baggy, and that's the last thing you really would want to do. So obviously they probably would have taken the pattern off the 6-scale figure and measured it accordingly. So like things like his jacket, things like his pants all fit the way they're supposed to fit. Just bring back up the pants, by the way. I want to show you guys what his footwear looks like. Very shiny looking boots there. I love the way they also sculpted the laces. Although the laces being molded in the same plastic basically as the rest of his footwear, they don't really stand out. I guess nor should they really anyways. I mean, the pants are basically going to be draping over it anyways. And then, of course, the bottoms of the soles, those are nicely sculpted there as well. And of course, we've got Star Ace there also on the side. Yeah, all in all, even though this is really the second time we've gone around and looked at this figure, I'm just as happy with this figure the first time I looked at him. Now, for the figure's articulation, Murder Legendre will have articulation with the ball joint provided there in his neck. It allows the head to rotate all the way around. It looks up this high and it looks down this low. I'm sure that it's not just the ball joint that's attached to the top of his neck that's doing all the work. I mean, in fact, looking at this, the way that it moves, there's probably a secondary ball joint at the base of the neck, giving him a much more greater range than if just a ball joint alone. For the shoulders, as I already mentioned, even though like the jacket fits really well for his body, The arms have no restrictions now, not at all. In fact, I can very easily move his arms back and forth. The figure does have a swivel there in his bicep, and he also seems to possess a double hinge on the elbow. Let's just pop his hands back into place. As for his upper body, it seems to be on a ball joint, so that freely moves around. Legs do split out once again, about that far, though, on Bela. You can bring the legs forward, you bring the legs back, and there's a swivel at the top of the thigh. The figure also gets granted a double hinge, it seems, on the knee, and then he does have decenter levels of articulation. Even though really, like, his boot goes as high as it does, he still does pretty good when it comes to being able to hinge his feet back and forth this way, and rocking back and forth this way as well. Again, I did have a look at this figure before. What I ultimately had to do is they sent over it as a loaner, and I just basically sent it back to them. They were nice enough to provide actually the sample this time around, and I'm looking forward to putting this guy on the shelf. Not really sure though if I'm going to display him with the hat on his head, because again, my only real worry is they put so much time, they put so much effort, and they put so much care into sculpting a decent likeness of Bela. I would really hate to worry that it's, first of all, going to either leave a stain behind of whatever they've painted onto the hat itself, or at the very worst, it would scratch off some of the paint on his forehead. Definitely wouldn't want that to happen. And of course, if I can actually tie myself off a somewhat successful knot, I'd like to put the cloak on him as well. If you've ever got the chance to see the original 30s film of White Zombie, it's again a really interesting movie. It's one of the first, if not the first, introduction of the term, first of all, zombie or the undead in a movie. Obviously, one of the things about it, though, is it being an older movie. There's not a lot of scares, but you'll be surprised to see that there's scares not coming necessarily from Bela Lugosi, but more so the shrieking vultures and the sound of grinding up sugarcane. Hark! Is that the sound of shrieking vultures? Maybe it's not. Here in Final Looks, though, I've got Murder Legendre displayed along with this perched bird. It wasn't an easy thing, especially considering this guy's rotating on a rotisserie. So what I've done instead is I've sort of cheated. I've taken the talons of the bird and sort of wedged them in between his thumb and his pointer finger, so at least he's going to hold the bird a little bit better. One good thing about Murder Legendre is if you didn't get the chance the first time we had a look at this figure here on this channel, the good news, though, is it's currently available over on their site at Starace, and it has been, in fact, marked down. The deluxe version that the company was kind enough to provide for this video was originally, and again, I'm only going by Canadian here, it was originally about $555 Canadian. It has now been marked down to $444 Canadian. And again, you can probably do the conversion if you're looking to get this one for yourself. If you are a fan, though, of the original White Zombie, no, not Rob Zombie's band, the one that predates that, one of the earliest memory and recollections of The Walking Dead, if you are a big fan of the 30s film White Zombie, and you want to get your hands, though, on Murder Legendre before he gets his hands on you, he's available, like I said, at Starace's site right now on sale. I'll provide the link down below in the video description. Big thank you once again to the folks over at Starace that did provide this sample a second time around of the brand new, or somewhat brand new, White Zombie Murder Legendre. And this was the deluxe version. We had the chance to have a look in this video. What do you guys think of the video? Let me know down below in the comments section. Have you guys already had the chance to pick up Legendre? And if you have, how do you have them displayed? Let me know down below. If you guys also wanted to let me know what your favorite Bela Lugosi movie is, would it be the obvious one of Dracula? I mean, there's obviously other things that he's done as well, but let me know what your favorite Bela Lugosi movie is. And in the meantime, if you guys certainly want to stick around for more, you can always do the things of turning on the bell notification, but maybe if you just move back a little bit before that, don't poison anybody in the process, whatever you do, but make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. Be in the now. Be right now coming back to this channel on a regular basis. Even though we have really wrapped up things right now for Murder Legendre, there will be more Starace reviews coming your way. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.